Everyone, welcome to the first episode of the podcast. This is going to be on all of the major podcast outlets. First guest ever, Nate from Valhalla VFT. Welcome, brother.
I'm honored. I'm absolutely honored to be the first guest ever. That's high praise right there. Thank you for having me on, buddy.
Dude, I love it. We met in San Antonio at a good buddy's place, and man, you've been making waves on the internet for sure as far as all the weird stuff in the veteran community, man. Pretty sad what's going on with all of that. And geez, feel
yeah,
like
you know, we're trying to move our way out of that, man. It's like the space has gotten pretty toxic. I think the Charlie Kirk situation, and I had some public spats with some other big name Green Berets, and we've come together and be like, man, we're not the enemy, man. It's time for us to maybe get a little bit coordinated and actually I think we all know who the big bad is here, right? It's kind of an us versus them at this point. So now we're more concerned with what's going on with this shit show of the Charlie Kirk situation.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how the whole thing unfolded. I mean, I'm still kind of scratching my head as far as how the FBI thinks everybody is this stupid. I mean, it's pretty wild, but just for the listeners out there, we're going to run through just kind of a brief timeline of everything that's happened, or at least everything that doesn't make sense. So I think the first thing for me was there were people who filmed somebody on the roof before the shooting happened. And
from multiple angles.
The video. Yeah, I remember the video. The guy was like, oh, well, that kind of seems weird.
Right up.
Yeah. You think he'd already be in place?
You would think that. So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying?
Huh.
He just ran from over, where's my finger? Whoa. From over there, ran in. And now he's right there. Just saying.
I mean, just kind of looking at it, and it's like, if you're obviously not everybody out there is, aware as us, as far as if we saw something like that, we would at least be like, is that security? Is that somebody who's supposed to be there? But yeah, that was pretty weird to me.
Here's the thing, right? College campus, college kids situation where there's people everywhere, right? You see somebody up on the roof. If you're a college kid, or you just like, oh, it's a cameraman, it's a security person, it's one of Charlie's team. I can sort of understand that, to whereas somebody like me or you might be like, that's not normal that there's a guy laying on the roof by himself and with nobody else around him. So yeah, I mean, also he's caught from multiple angles on the roof, right? Like you have the side profile angle and then also the one where he's fleeing. So, people obviously, there was a lot of cameras there.
Thought it was pretty odd. I think the biggest thing for me, which I'm still scratching my head on, is when he was shot, the guy from the crowd, George Zinn, who was a witness to 9/11, he made a fake bomb scare
at the Boston bombing.
And then I think it was a couple of days after they figured out he wasn't the guy. He was arrested for like child sex exploitation or something like that. And
yep,
I don't know. I'm just trying to break down, like, what is the motivation of being like, I did it, and then he said, shoot me.
Shoot me! Shoot me! Was that you? We don't know if it's him or not.
I was talking to my wife, I think, about this, I was talking to my dad about this earlier today, and it was kind of the idea of, what are the odds that you were in all three of those locations at once? 9/11, the Boston bombing, and the Charlie Kirk assassination. The odds of that are so astronomically low. Now you factor in, it's not that he was just at those places. He was doing nefarious shit at each of those places. He was calling in fake bomb threats at the Boston Marathon. He was pretending that he was the shooter at the Charlie Kirk assassination. That gets, again, we're getting close to tinfoil, but is it really tinfoil? It's so bizarre that you would be in all three locations and be a nefarious actor in all three locations. Very weird.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the psychology behind it. Would it be like, is he somehow connected, or is it him just being suicidal? I mean, is it him being the guy who's like, oh, I want the guy who actually shot him to get away?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like I said this in one of my videos, if you grab the guy and he said he did it, where's the gun?
Yeah,
like, is it around?
We talked about this right before we started of how long it took to secure the scene. It was just obnoxious. I mean, I talked to a guy I know in the Utah County Sheriff's Department who was talking about like when the Sheriff's Department showed up, nothing had been secured. They were just trying to then clear those side buildings and all the stuff around there, potentially looking for a shooter. And that was 10, 20 minutes after the shooting. So this guy, I think it's very odd to me that right as the shot rings off, he immediately is ready to say, I'm the shooter, and scream and cause a distraction. Maybe that's random chance to your point. Maybe he's trying to help somebody he doesn't even know escape. I don't know. It's almost tinfoil hat to say that this guy was not involved at this point, in my opinion, in some capacity.
Yeah. I think some of the wildest stuff is the images they released saying that this is a suspect, and then, them finally arresting the guy. They don't look anything like the pictures. And then obviously the story of he was running off the roof. We have video of him, somebody panning a camera.
Yep.
With him running, no weapon.
I want to talk about this because I just started. I've been watching back this footage of him running off the roof over and over again because everybody keeps telling. I saw Steven Crowder. He played my clip and said it was a conspiracy that I was saying that he broke the rifle down and that you could clearly see the kid leave with the rifle. And I'm a big fan of Steven Crowder. No shots fired, but I don't see it. And if you actually slow the footage down, what gets very, very odd to me is you see him flee. He's obviously got no rifle. And people can watch this back. He's got a shadow. And then he hits the zoom in point of the camera and his shadow disappears. You see him jump off. And what most people haven't seen is the extended footage. What we see is him pick up a little weird thing and start to run. If you extend the footage and it pans over to the street, have you seen that footage yet? Where it actually shows him like walking next to the pedestrians? Well, one thing is you can see him take his hat off his head and put it back on his head with his left hand while he's carrying his backpack in the right hand. So the idea that he had a rifle in his left hand all of a sudden makes no sense. Two, what I really started to notice that is really bugging me now is I'm watching the pedestrians as he's walking next to him. No one is fleeing. No one is panicked. Everybody's just going about their day, but yet a 30-06 gunshot just rang off from the roof 30 meters away from those kids. And this kid comes running and jumping off the roof and no one's fleeing. No one's concerned. Nobody, like you would expect all the people around that area, the pedestrians would be freaked out, would be running, doing something. And it's just like another day at school. And so my question is the footage we're looking at him, and this is a little bit tinfoil, but I'm starting to wonder, is that footage from right after the shot?
That's a really good question.
Because nobody is acting like a giant gunshot just went off 10 seconds ago that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And there's pedestrians all over the place walking on the sidewalk. And also, if he's got this giant rifle right after 10 seconds, 15 seconds after a 30-06 shot goes off, nobody's worried that's walking. There's like a guy walking right behind him who's not upset or like, I don't know, very bizarre, right? So just something I noticed for the Type 1.
Well, I think also the theory of people saying that he broke the gun down.
That's ridiculous.
Like, so you shoot somebody and you're like, okay, let me break this down so I could fit this in my backpack. That gun that the FBI released, where it's, still daylight and they have flashlights on it in this box. In this box, it's like, all right, so it's either an evidence box that's perfectly fit for this gun
that they just happen to have in the cruiser at the time with them.
Yeah.
I'm not a cop, so maybe the cops out there in the comment section can tell me, do you guys just carry 30-06 evidence boxes with you in your cruisers just in case? I'm not sure. So,
but I mean, in the moment like that, clearly your adrenaline would be through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
First idea is I need to get out of here and escape.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know any situation where it's like, okay, but wait, I've got a screwdriver and some tools. I'm going to hang out on the building, take this apart, put a barrel in my backpack that would still be out. I mean, it's a tiny backpack.
It's a 22-inch barrel. So that's almost a 2-foot backpack, right? So the barrel would still have been outside of that tiny little book bag.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it's not it's not a small gun. I mean, obviously the video of him running around is pretty grainy, but I feel like when he's running on the roof, he's got like a grayish background. So you would be able to see something pretty big in his hand.
And black, the gun,
when he's
for
running.
one, the roof is white and the gun is black. The Mauser that he showed, that the FBI showed, is all black. And that if you're trying to tell me that you couldn't see a giant Mauser black buttstock, at least, let alone with the barrel, I can see his hat. If I can see his hat, I can see a 44-inch long gun. Me personally, at least, that's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, so I think the other stuff that's just kind of weird, at least in the beginning here, before we even get into the investigation, is they said he admitted it to his father.
Yep. Which is,
and then the father,
no longer necessarily what they're saying. They've changed the story now.
Yeah. But I think was it Bill Ackman who put out the thing where it was $1 million to whoever got it, and then apparently he gave it to the father gifted it back to Charlie Kirk's family. But if you're like, obviously that's not the official story now, I think, now that he's not cooperating, because my mind would be, if you admitted it to your dad, like, he's going to be a witness in court, so why not just admit it to law enforcement at that point?
Well, like the Utah governor came out a day or two ago and is now stating that they are not saying that the father turned it in, or they're not able to say who turned him in. It was someone close to the family, is apparently what they're saying now, which is very different than his dad turned him in. Why is, and I think that's kind of a theme that's driving everybody crazy on this, is the FBI's inconsistencies. It's just, from the start, we talked about the old guy they had as custody, but that wasn't even the last person, the suspect they had in custody. They had the old guy, they got him, and then they didn't have him, right? Cash said, we got him, we don't got him. And then they got a guy in downtown Provo who's driving around with a pellet rifle in the back of his truck. They pull him over.
Oh, that's right.
We forget about this, right? And I know this because I'm talking to one of the Utah County sheriffs in real time as this is happening, because I saw Cash Patel puts out the message, we got him, and I sent it to him, and I said, you guys got him? And he goes, literally from the Utah County Sheriff's Department, goes, we have no idea why the FBI is saying that we have them. We have no one in custody. We have no leads. We just pulled down Salt Lake City, Utah's SWAT team to help us. The only thing we know is someone in black, as the FBI is telling people we got him. And then what I find out is the second we got him was this old man, which I showed in one of my videos, who they found in downtown Provo, who had a pellet rifle sort of in the back of his truck, back of his window of his truck, because it's Provo, Utah. And they pull him over. They detain him for, 10, 15 minutes. They see it's a pellet rifle. They let him go. Somehow the FBI decides we got him again. And then they release him, and it's oh shit, just kidding. And then you get into the stuff with the dad of like, oh, the dad turned him in. Oh, wait, we're just kidding. He didn't turn him in. And it's just like, how are we supposed to know what's real and what's not real when the FBI is just blatantly, I don't know if it's lying, if it's ineptitude, if it's incompetence, is it nefarious? But it ain't accurate.
It's hard to tell.
It's not accurate. That's all we know,
It can't be. I mean, I hate to think that it's like them purposely lying, but I think they're also not used to the technology we have today. I mean, as soon as Elon Musk bought X, we have access to so much more information now. I mean, there's really not much that doesn't get on there. I remember just finding out about the shooting, and I was just scrolling through, and there the video was. I heard so many people say, like, if you haven't seen it yet, don't watch it, because that is not an easy video to watch, where he's just
absolutely not
squirting blood all over the place.
But I think it was an important video for the world to see, because, with guys like in my profession, the global war on terror, like, we know what that looks like. And right. And it's hard to watch, but it was very important for the public to see that, because now, as this story has transpired and people like me or you or all the other hunters and global war on terror veterans can look at that and go, sorry, like, I don't have to be an expert in ballistics to know that ain't a 30-06 round, bud. You know what I mean? So it's like your average person now is able to look at this story and go, no. So, and it's not just experts that are saying this doesn't sound right. It's the normal person. And that's, I think, a big problem for the FBI right now. And I think it's why they're backtracking. Did you talk about before to your channel how Kash Patel now came out, I think it was last night or the night before, and is basically saying we are reopening all investigations into possibly a different shooter, into a different weapon, into basically all of the things YouTubers have stuffed down their throat. They had to then come out and say, okay, we're not going to get away with this narrative. So now we're going to say we're reopening the investigation. It's just.
Yeah. I mean, I think he hinted at it a couple of days ago where he was saying we're looking into all possibilities. I haven't seen that yet, but I know Dan Bongino, who has pretty much been, silent other than just like reposting tweets. He went on and he looked like he was about to have a heart attack.
Yep.
I mean, he looked like he was just completely fed up.
Just
I don't even know
it.
why he's a part of the FBI anymore. But yeah, I mean, why don't we go through the possibility of it being a 30-06? And just so, in case everybody, hasn't heard yet, a rep from TPUSA put out this big, long message on X saying that they spoke with the surgeon, and the surgeon said that Charlie's neck was like the Man of Steel because
bone density
30-06
was so dense.
Yeah. The 30-06 was nothing compared to Charlie's neck. And
the surgeon even said this round could kill a moose or two, which, by the way, I have a 30-06 sitting right here that has killed a moose. But Charlie's Wolverine neck stopped the round. That's the official. That's from Turning Point. Yeah. Not a random person.
So I think there's a couple of things to unpack here. One, I'm not going to say it's miracles don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think anything, in reason is possible.
That's what you just said there is very important though for the viewer to understand. Within reason.
Yeah, within reason, because I've talked about it on my main show a couple of times, but every time I've shot anything that is bigger, wider, stronger, tougher skin, more bones than a neck, a human neck. It didn't matter if it hit bone. It didn't matter if it fragmented. There was always an exit. And a 30-06, I mean, he was, for everyone listening and not watching the video, he's got two rounds here. One's a 5.56, one's 30-06.
Let's show the 5.56 first, and then we'll put up the 30-06 on top of it. That's just, and what I want people to understand. Let me say from a combat perspective, from Global War on Terror, watching what we use in our M4s is 5.56, right? Having seen a lot of induced. I don't want to get too graphic, but a lot of induced high-powered rifle rounds of the 5.56 into the human body. There's a saying called canoeing someone, right? Canoeing someone's skull. We could laugh about it. There's a funny meme from Global War on Terror said that Daesh don't surf, they canoe. And the joke is, right, you hit somebody in the forehead with a 5.56 round, and it will canoe their skull in, guys. That is the crown of a skull of a human being that is the strongest bone in the human body, close to the sternum. And this 5.56 round will potentially blow that apart. Now we're talking about a round twice the size, moving at as equal or faster velocity, hitting an area in the human neck, which First of all, if we want to talk about, I'm sure you've talked about the human vertebrae on your channel, but human vertebrae is one of the most delicate bones in the body, guys, because it's not even thick all the way through because your spinal cord is running through it, right? It's super flexible, it's malleable because our neck has to do all these different things. A round that can go through elk bone at 400 meters. Well, you want to tell me that Charlie Kirk's neck, his little neck vertebrae, stopped this round? This thing is gigantic. Okay? You can kill a moose with it, kill a black bear with it. That's not possible. So when you said within reason, this is no longer within reason from 150 yards on a human body. It's not possible. Now, I've seen people try to get into like weird, like, well, what if it was a repacked round with only 100 grain and then it also had a frangible tip and like all this crazy shit. And it's like, what makes me say, please stop to that is now what you're doing is you're trying to bring in all the craziest, weirdest, niche, austere possibilities to fit a narrative to make it make sense. Rather than looking at this and going, let's forget about the 30-06. What makes sense here? Well, if we just look at it without the FBI story at all, okay, the 30-06 story goes out the window. No one would ever go, yep, he got shot in the throat with a 30-06 and it didn't go through. Not a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I touched on that on a previous video I did, but I have a lot of back injuries from rodeo.
I bet.
It is not,
yeah.
It is not I mean, you said it best. It's very flexible.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about it in a video. It's not like your femur. That's just this real thick, strong bone. It's not just one bone all the way through. There's discs in there. There's cartilage. There's all this stuff.
It's separated by discs.
Right. So, and discs, I mean, I have a bunch of herniated discs. It's really not that hard to herniate a disc just by, I mean, people do it running all the time. People do it, falling in a sitting position. That's how I did it a couple of times, rodeo, and I would fall off a horse and or land in a sitting position, and it just compresses everything.
We do that a lot in skydiving too. If you don't land right.
Oh, I imagine.
Yeah.
I imagine. But just to think, one, like clearly they didn't review the post before, because if that's truly what happened, I still wouldn't put that out, because it just doesn't, the possibility of that I think would be well below 1%. Below. Like
I know. Yeah. So I've tried to give some grace to this as I've thought it through. Let's just say because again, like this is a 22-year-old college kid who you're not going to convince me is out there reloading his own ammo, and he's quantifying the perfect amount of grain to not have an exit wound through Charlie's neck, and having, okay, I got to get frangible ammo with the small grain to get, like, I'm sorry, like someone like me probably wouldn't even be thinking about shit like this if I'm going to carry out assassination, right? He's going to potentially take it from his grandpa or his dad's, we're assuming that this kid's the shooter, from his dad or grandpa's ammo with the gun, right? Which is going to be full metal jacket, 30-06 ammo. And if we're assuming just a regular 30-06 with a regular full metal jacket round, there is, and I want to make this clear to everyone, because you hear this, right? And we say this all the time in war, bullets do funny things. Let me give some context. Bullets do funny things. If, let's say, I shot this 30-06 round into an elk and it hit the scapula of the elk and bounced off and hit another really thick bone, maybe it doesn't pass through. We're talking about a human neck with a 30-06 round with a full metal jacket tip. There is a 0.0% chance, not even a Powerball's chance, that this round does not produce an exit wound on a human neck. Okay, I want the viewers to understand that. It's not possible. Now, we could get into weird things with repacked ammo and minus grains and frangible tips. Sure, okay, now you're getting into 1-2%. But just if we're taking it at the FBI's word, not a thing, dude. It's just not possible.
I think the argument for like the frangible tips and all that stuff is not a great one either, because if you are going to pick any kind of ammo, like special kind of ammo, you would have to think at a, high profile event, the guy's wearing body armor, or at least assume it. So if you're going to pick any kind of round, it would be armor piercing, definitely not frangible ammo. You'd want something that's getting through something. So that argument is horrible.
You're actually right. Like, I'm picking the one type of round that potentially doesn't kill my target. Why would I do that? And why would I lower the grain weight? Why would I make the velocity less if I'm trying to kill this person?
Yeah, it just doesn't make that much sense. But I don't know. I mean, I think then we get into, was the hole in the front of the neck truly the entry?
I don't think so at this point. No. Yeah, but I mean, I want to stop myself because I'm not trying to, I tell everybody this in every video. I don't have the answers. I'm trying my best to take my perspective and my knowledge and apply it to what I'm seeing. So there's no conclusive that this is an entrance or exit wound, but from what I'm seeing, this doesn't appear to be an entrance wound. I should say it that way.
Yeah, I think a guy, I forget the name. I think it's like Range Day Bro.
That's very good video.
Big video. And I touched on it as well. And you could definitely see something shoot out the side of his neck. It looks like just a glob of fluid. And then potentially, they got it in the frame where his neck looks stretched.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, obviously, all the blood starts gushing out. But for me, I don't know. I mean, I've ran through most of the footage out there. There's apparently more footage coming out. A couple of other YouTubers have some more. And now they're saying it looks more like it's, he was shot in the front. I think still the question is, regardless if it's an entrance or an exit, the fact that if it's not a 30-06 round, right? If it's not a 30-06, this entire story blows up in their face because they showed the gun. It's in the police report.
And that's their problem.
So then where do they go? Where do they go from there? Do they just say, oh, we found a gun in the woods and it was just a random gun? I mean, what do they say?
So I want the viewer to understand that we are prefacing this based off of the FBI narrative. Now, if I throw the FBI narrative out the window and I throw the gun out the window, could this be an entrance wound from a smaller caliber rifle, like a 5.56 pistol? 5.56 even, like, you're stretching when you're saying that no exit wound with a 5.56 round on a human neck from 100 yards. That is even getting... we're in possibilities now, but we're in the 1% to 2% possibilities. Okay. But you're talking about maybe a pistol round, something like that. Sure. And people were saying, well, is it possible that the surgeon actually did find the round in the neck and it didn't pass through? 100%. That is possible. What I'm saying is it's not possible with this bastard. Right. So to your point, the FBI narrative and the 30-06 in the woods and all this, that gets thrown out the window. And then the question is, okay, where's the shooter, right? Who's the shooter? What's the gun that was used? All of a sudden it gets like, I don't have a conclusive of exit wound, entrance wound, what was used. All I know is the FBI's story is not true. That's my one thing I'm confident in. I'm not confident in any other like conclusive story. I am confident that the 30-06 not pass through story is 100% bullshit. I will refuse to believe that no matter what anyone tells me.
Yeah, I think probably one of the most compelling videos, you actually showed it to me at Jared's when we just showed up, but the muzzle flash in the window. And I was looking at it and I was thinking, did somebody poke a hole in the window? Is that a window that opens, or is it a reflection from somewhere?
Yeah, that's a really interesting video. The more I've watched that video, I can't come to the conclusion that that's definitely where the shot came from. If we're trying to break this down and like, is this a professional hit? Is it a professional shooter? When I watch footage like that, I go, oh, okay, that looks far more professional than dipshit on the roof that everybody can see. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think another thing that just kind of seemed off. So Candace Owens has just been going kind of nuts.
She's kind of spiraling. Yeah, she's spiraling a little bit. which is kind of disappointing. I think she's on to stuff, but she's spiraling a little bit into so crazy that even someone like me goes, okay, this is silly. What are we doing? You know?
I mean, even I know you're going on Alex Jones tomorrow, but even Alex Jones was calling her out, and I was like, man, Alex Jones doesn't really shy away from much.
If Alex Jones is calling you tinfoil hat, you're out there. Yeah.
Yeah. But she released a photo of the alleged shooter at Dairy Queen.
So,
and
yeah, 16 minutes after, right? Or like 15, 16 minutes after.
Yeah. And it was 15 minutes away. So he had time to run away, dump a gun in the woods,
change his clothes.
I mean, put it in a box, change his clothes, drive or get a ride or whatever, get a bus to Dairy Queen.
It was like 15 minutes away, right? From campus?
Yeah.
The Dairy Queen? Yeah. So he did it fast. He got there in a hurry. Yes. He was straight to Dairy Queen after the shot.
He was hungry, man. He was hungry.
Murder will do that to you, apparently.
But my thought is, if you just did something like that, wouldn't be the first thought, okay, I need to get the hell out of Dodge. Like, yes. I need to go somewhere out of town, not be nonchalant. Not be nonchalant getting food. But somebody pointed out there's a Superman background thing, and I haven't confirmed it yet, but a lot of people are saying that it stopped playing in theaters, I think a month ago or something like that.
Yeah.
So now I'm wondering, kind of what you said in the beginning, the video footage, is that actually from the day? And then that picture, is that actually from the day? Because I know there's a lot of other video. I think there was like some accident he was in.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Came out. And now I'm wondering, is any of this stuff from the actual day?
Again, as I started to watch back the footage of him fleeing, I started to get real suspicious. Nobody has talked about that. It was just me watching it over and over again, trying to find the rifle. That was what I was trying to find. And then I started noticing the pedestrians and like everybody just going about their day 50 meters away from an assassination. And imagine how many people were screaming in that auditorium or in that amphitheater, gunshots ringing off. But yet everybody on the other side of that building is just like, doop, 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 don't mind me. And then he's at Dairy Queen 15 minutes later, like. But then you spiral into, okay, well, if this is all manipulated, now you're in like deep Fed cover up conspiracy land, right? Because now you're showing us footage that isn't real or is pre-planted, and that's fuck, man. And I'm trying not I'm trying not to tinfoil. Like I know you are too. Like we're trying not to go down these lanes, but like they're making it really hard not to.
Yeah, I mean. They could just come out and be truthful, and I think there's a lot of ways they can do it to where they can potentially save their ass. I mean, before they could, now with the 30-06 and the surgeon thing, I mean, the scary part about this is if it wasn't a 30-06, now we have several people involved in whatever theory they're pushing. So the surgeon is involved. Why doesn't the surgeon come out and publicly talk about it? Like some could say it's a HIPAA violation, but even releasing the information about it while he's alive.
The number one comment on my video talking about the Man of Steel thing is from a surgeon who literally said no surgeon would ever tell a random person from Turning Point all of this information days after. This is not a thing. It's not what doctors would do. They could tell the wife, they could have told Erica, and maybe Erica tells Turning Point puts this out. I don't know. But again, but here's the problem. Let's say this surgeon doesn't exist. This is a made up post. Now it's Turning Point. And this is one of those roads that no one wants to go down, and I don't want to go down either. But they put the post out, man. Turning Point put this bullshit post out. And so you got to ask yourself, why? Why did you do this? Alex, whatever his name is, who's apparently Charlie Kirk's best friend. Why did you put this post out? Maybe, and I'm not saying there's a surgeon who didn't tell them this. That's all possible. And the whole surgeon story, well, the Man of Steel story is ridiculous, but the possibility of the bullet lodged in the neck, it's all possible. But then, if that's true, the FBI narrative isn't true anymore. So where we're at, where it's like these things can't be true at the same time. So what's real?
I mean, I can see being somebody's friend and being like, okay, there's a lot of stuff being made up about this. None of it is accusatory towards Charlie, though. So it's like if you have the need to defend your friend or the situation or whatever, people are calling, crap out about it. It doesn't really involve Charlie anymore. It involves the investigation in regard to him. And it's like, if you have the need to be like, okay, this surgeon, one, I've been in the ER several times. When it's something serious, I mean, really anything at the ER, they don't let family, or they only let family in. So the fact that the story is that this surgeon told this guy that's not related to him, what's the rest of the story? It's like you were there in the hallway and he walked down and he's like, hey man, you're from TPUSA. Let me just tell you what's going on with one of my clients. It's a HIPAA violation.
Yeah, 100%.
And also post it on X whenever you can.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. It's just.
Well, also, let's say that was real information given to him. That's still a HIPAA violation that Turning Point did. Unless you had permission from Erica to put that out, which I didn't see Erica put that out. And again,
is it a HIPAA violation if they're dead though?
Oh, I don't know. We're gonna have some doctors and some lawyers that are gonna school us up on that. I don't know. I did learn some things about defamation law, which I'm very well versed in, but I didn't realize until I saw that Turning Point's gonna sue all these people for defamation that you actually can't sue for defamation for someone that's deceased. It's not a thing.
Who were they planning on suing?
All the news outlets who've been spreading misinformation about Charlie, saying he said these racist things that he didn't say out of context and all this different thing. And I saw a defamation lawyer break it down and was like, yeah, well, you can't, if someone's dead, they can't be defamed because they're dead, which kind of actually makes sense, but anyway, it's just I digress of when we get into the weird weeds of legalities and things like this. But to your point is like, what was the purpose of putting that post out?
Well, that's kind of where it gets wild. And I really don't, like you said, want to go down conspiracy avenue here. But if your buddy just got shot and there was something weird about it, wouldn't you be the first dude to be like, look, we're still trying to figure out what happened. We don't have all the details yet, but as soon as we get them, we're going to provide them for everybody to, remove mass confusion or mass conspiracy or whatever it is, because the FBI isn't doing their job, or they just suck, or Kash Patel's, at Valhalla. He's hanging out with you, dude.
Again, like I want the viewers to understand, could this doctor and could the autopsy actually show this bullet entered, hit his neck, it lodged, and the surgeon told them this, and they put this out? That 100% could all be true, but it can't be true with the FBI Mauser 30-06 story. So now we're back at square one of who's lying, who's incompetent. And what I think it is with the FBI, I think that they feel the need because the FBI is being run by a podcaster, right? And I'm sorry, I'm not going to give Kash, I'm not going to pull any punches on Kash because there's nothing but I've just seen incompetence come out of him on this. But they've been they felt like they needed to get the story out, and they needed to be right, and they needed to find the shooter and show everybody they're doing a great job, that they shit the bed. And then they showed a bunch of evidence and things they should have never showed during an investigation until they figured out what was actually holistically going on. And now they got their hands tied behind this fucking story that makes no sense. And to your point, how do you backtrack out of it if you're Kash Patel now? How do you come out to the American people and go, okay, maybe we don't have the shooter. Maybe there's another shooter. Maybe this gun wasn't the murder weapon. After everything you've done and everything you've put out, I mean, that dude's not going to have a job anymore. Like, you can be very sure your ass is fired, Cash, for that level of incompetency. So, and this is like, I'm not trying to say that the FBI is now trying to cover their tracks, but I haven't heard them come out and say like, yeah, hey, we're changing the story, even though nobody on the planet, no, for the most part, believes this FBI narrative. And it's not, like I said, it's not just guys like me and you that are like familiar, that hunt, that are, military, that are like, this doesn't make sense. It's just normal, regular people that are like, nah, dude, no.
Well, why don't they release the autopsy to put it to bed?
So, and this is, I don't know this for sure, but this is what I'm hearing, or what I heard recently, is there was no autopsy. He was essentially, and again, I don't know, I can't confirm this, but this is what I'm hearing. There was no autopsy, and he was immediately embalmed. And then, well, I mean, you saw his body moved like the next day, right? On the military ceremonial flight with JD Vance and all that. That was, I believe it was the very next day. So what they're saying is, in some cases, and I guess this is pretty regular, I've been trying to research it, in deaths like this, they want to embalm the body as fast as possible. And it's just the way it is because it makes it easier, I guess. I don't know. Somebody out there that's a funeral director is probably going to let us know that I'm right or wrong on this, but they want to embalm the body fast as possible to like get it ready. And supposedly, if he's killed instantly, right, and he's dead, now they're like, oh, well, we don't need to do an autopsy. I can't confirm if that's true or not. But that's what I'm hearing is going to be the reason why we are not going to get an autopsy report from the FBI, is because, oh, well, they didn't need to do one. And that's going to be throw your hands up and go, what the fuck, right?
Well, I think,
again, I want the viewers to know that's not a confirmed me saying I know that. That's just kind of like the rumors that I've heard.
Well, I think if the FBI changes their story, then it becomes why, if it's a lie or if they screwed it up or whatever, then what happens to the dude who put out the statement about Charlie Kirk and the surgeon and this, Superman neck? Because then people are going to ask, why would you go along with a narrative on someone who you were very close with? I know for me, for a fact, I wouldn't care about any of that stuff. I wouldn't care about money involved or how many, people are going to, send me money or whatever. I'd be like, no, like, I want to know what happened to my buddy.
Yes.
And if this is not the case, we need to get out there and figure it out. But if the story's fake, which it definitely seems sketchy to say the least, then that dude, like, what's the real angle? Like, oh, we just got to like kind of cover this up and put out a post to where literally anybody who's ever shot a 30-06, not even a 30-06, a 5.56, they're going to be like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, and the post is like, it almost felt like a story you tell a 4-year-old, right? Like it was bone density was like the man of steel. And it's just like, okay, no, first of all, what surgeon talks like that? I saw that. The post, I talked about this before. My wife showed me that post the night it came out, like an hour after it came out. I read it and I didn't even reshare it. I wasn't planning on doing any video on it. I just went, oh, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's a fake post. Like, that's a fake post. And then I woke up the next morning to 100 messages and Fox News and everybody posting that same post. And I thought to myself, my God, this is real. They actually said this. I'm just blown away that you could possibly say that. But to your point about, wouldn't you just want to know what happened to your buddy? Well, I'll tell you this. All of the evidence is there. You know, the only things I need to see to solve the entire case now is the footage from the high def camera from behind Charlie Kirk and the actual autopsy report. You show me those two things, if I could actually see them in person myself, and I could solve your case in a snap of fingers, because now I immediately can see, okay, did a round enter the back of his head and then come out? Well, the autopsy report shows me that. The camera shows me that. Does the autopsy report show me just an entrance wound to the neck with a small caliber bullet, like a pistol round in the throat? Okay, well, that solves my problem. The evidence is there. This is what's driving me a little bit crazy. Is it's not like this is a JFK, where's the evidence? There's no footage type of, man on the hill, grassy knoll type of thing. No, it's the FBI has it. Turning Point has it. You have it. But you won't show us the two things that immediately solve the case. Why?
Yeah, I think Candace Owens actually said that she saw the footage from behind.
Yeah, I saw that.
And she said there was, no blood or anything. Which, I mean, we were talking about this before. There was only a little bit of blood on the table. And then
I mean, I can pull that up right now if we want.
Yeah, I mean, to me.
Yeah, it's right here. I'll just pull it up if you want to show the viewers. There's the table. Just a tiny, and guys, I can promise you, I've seen a lot of guys shot and treated guys shot to the carotid artery. That tiny amount of blood is very, very odd. I mean, it's very, very odd.
We saw how much blood.
6 round, dude, right?
We saw how much blood was. I mean, for the people who didn't see it, I would not go searching for the video unless you truly, really want to see it. But we saw how much blood was pouring out. And then, like, are they immediately cleaning up the ground after? Because there would be a ton more, or the table or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you brought up a good point. So they've got all this footage. One, the guy was like messing with the cameras. A lot of people, have speculated. So, people don't steal the SD cards type of thing.
That's what he said. He said,
okay.
So the actual, because he's gotten a lot of scrutiny, the Turning Point employee, because he immediately went and tore that camera down. And then there's footage of him over the top of an SUV yanking all the SD cards out of the cameras. And everybody was going, why are you doing that? His reason was, I wanted to make sure nobody could steal them so I could give them to the FBI. Turning Point also stated the FBI has that footage.
My Lord.
So
okay,
the FBI
so I didn't
has
see that. If they have the footage.
The FBI has that footage. Turning Point confirmed they gave that to the feds.
So what's your best guess on this? Do you think it was a 30-06? And then 2, do you think he was actually shot in the front versus the back or the side of the neck, and that was an exit? Because at this point, all we can do is speculate. They have the answer. They're just not releasing it. And now we just all get to, rely on our hunting experience.
I know.
Here.
So here's what I'll say. The one thing I know is not true is that he was shot in the front of the neck, in the carotid, with the 30-06, and there was no pass-through, no exit wound. That I will not believe, no matter what. You can give me a coroner's report. You can give me an autopsy report. I will not believe that story ever. What I will say is it's very difficult to know if this is an entrance or exit wound. If it's an entrance wound, it's from a far lower caliber weapon. Pistol makes more sense than anything, because again, even a 5.56 round, a cell that it didn't go through a little neck vertebrae, right?
Well, that's the thing. So, I mean, for example, when I've shot deer with a 30-06, the entrance is not very big because it's going
always
so
going to be
fast,
much bigger,
and there's so much force going in. It's just going straight through it.
Let's
so
talk
my
about
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
My question would be, if that truly is the entrance, that's a pretty decent size entry wound.
Not necessarily.
To me,
hold on, not necessarily.
Okay.
Because, well, from what we can see, because what we see is the blood start to come out. You got to keep in mind, we're talking about the carotid artery. The carotid artery is insanely pressurized, right? So if you blast through that carotid with a 22 round, you're going to see blood out of that, because it's a pressurized artery. Okay. So when we're talking about actual bullet ballistics, this is where it gets complicated, because we're talking about a human neck, right? So, and I've said it myself, a 30-06 round potentially could have taken his head off. Well, maybe, however, the neck is not very big. And if you're talking about the way a Full Metal Jacket round hits, when it hits, of course, it's designed to mushroom out, right? You know that, and that way the exit wound is going to be that big when the entrance wound is that big. However, it usually takes a little bit of time for that Full Metal Jacket to actually mushroom out and pass through and create a huge exit wound. Charlie Kirk's neck's pretty little. So is it possible that that's an exit wound where he got shot from the back of the head and this comes out here and it's a little bit smaller exit wound than you would expect? That would kind of make sense, actually, with a high-powered rifle round that hasn't had the time to actually fully mushroom out as it blows. It needs to get through about 10 to 12 inches of flesh usually before it fully mushrooms out and causes that like chaos 2-3 inch exit wound like you've seen with deer, right? Where like that exit wound is going to be that big when the entrant wound is that big. But if you're talking about just coming right through, 4 or 5 inches of human flesh, it's possible that what you see here is an exit wound from even something like a 5.56 round. But also, again, making it complicated, we're talking about the carotid artery, that if you were to shoot someone directly in the carotid with a pistol round, you'd still see the same type of effect because of that pressurized artery of just blowing blood out the way it is. It's so hard to tell, is this an exit wound, an entrance wound, what caliber from the footage that we've seen? It could be either, but it could not be. What it cannot be, most likely, is anything above a 7.62 round and the direct hit to the front, because any round above a 7.62, even 5.56 is, again, we're talking 1-2% doesn't pass through. 7.62 to 308, 300 Win Mag, 30-06, 270, that's going to blow through his neck, and it's going to blow through his neck, blow through the wall, and go into concrete 5 inches deep behind him. That's why I don't believe that's an entrance wound, unless it's a pistol round or maybe miraculously a 5.56 round. So again, I don't know, but I don't believe the FBI story about the 30-06.
What do you think the possibility is if he was shot in the back of the neck and let's just call it a 30-06, even though it's most likely not, in my opinion. Got to make sure I say in my opinion. But what if it hit the vertebrae first and it hit a good chunk of one of the actual vertebrae, so the bone is at that point? So, and I've thought about this, if it hit vertebrae first, so straight through skin vertebrae, to me, it would have shot bone out of his neck.
So if you're talking about getting shot from sort of the back of the head out right, with the 30-06 round, here's what I'll tell you before we get into the actual anatomy of why I don't believe that, is from the acoustics of a 30-06. Now we're talking about the only way that shot can get taken is from about, I think, 90 feet away is like the only angles you could possibly get from the right backside to hit Charlie. I will tell you this, if a 30, and you know this, anybody who's ever shot or been around a 30-06, if that 30-06 would have been 50 feet away from Charlie in that crowd, in that amphitheater, it would have sounded like a literal bomb went off. Everyone in that entire amphitheater would have immediately looked to exactly where that shot came from. But that's not what they did. And that's another thing I've been watching, is the reaction of the crowd. And when I've been watching reactions of the crowd, nobody freaks out or flinches when that gunshot goes off until Charlie hits the ground and people start screaming he's been shot. Then they panic. This is also why I never believe the 30-06 story. Anywhere in that amphitheater, if you would have shot an unsuppressed 30-06, everyone would have immediately been out of their seats and looked. The whole crowd would have looked to where this bomb went off. None of them did that, which tells me he most likely had a suppressed lower caliber round, 300 blackout or something like that from, let's say, an upper right area, a suppressed 300 blackout, that snap that you hear, right? And then the crowd doesn't really know what's going on. They hear the snap of a round. Nobody really knows where it's from. And then all of a sudden they see Charlie hit the ground. They freak out. That's what that whole thing tells to me. So that's why I don't believe the 30-06 story to begin with. But let's say 30-06 does hit him in the back part of the neck, hits him right in the neck first from 50 feet away, or 50 to 90 feet away. Bro, it tears all the vertebrae in his neck all the way out with him, most likely. It's possible, again, that it could have been a large caliber round like this, hit him from close distance, and the round didn't have time to mushroom all the way through, and what you see is a smaller exit wound. 100% possible. But I don't believe it based off the acoustics of what happened with the gunshot that's what happened. I think you have a suppressed, let's say, gun to my head, you got to guess right. I would say most likely shot with a suppressed 300 blackout round. That's what I think at this point, if I had to guess. It's what makes the most
Yeah,
sense to me based off of the ballistics, based off the sound, based off the acoustics, based off of the way the round seems to have left. It potentially maybe was or wasn't strong enough. If we're going with the surgeon's report, that could potentially tie everything all together for me. But again, I'm speculating.
Yeah, if we're going with the surgeon's report. Did you see the so the guy who put that video out yesterday, and at the end he had that bush like up on that perch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to review that video tomorrow on the channel because it's very interesting, I think.
Yeah, he was saying potentially that there was a face behind it and that it looked like potentially somebody. But I think where you went with the acoustics...
It's hard for me to see on that picture to say there's somebody back there with a rifle. Maybe, but I can't
with
see
the acoustics, with the acoustics and how the entire thing is just surrounded by buildings. Everybody would have looked up there.
Have you seen the audio engineer who put out the big giant report on the actual sound acoustics of the gun or of the shooting? I'll send it to you after this. He's basically he broke it all down through acoustics that the shot came from 80 to 90 feet away, and most likely from the upper right. And that was it's like a 10-page acoustics report with all this crazy data that I don't really even understand. But that's what the acoustics professionals are saying. Tells them,
really,
which is 80 to 90 feet away from Charlie Kirk, and the only way that works is if it's somewhere in that. And what I will say is all of the things that we're talking about sort of lend towards the idea that Charlie potentially got, but again, I don't know because we don't have the autopsy report. All of the logic lends to shot with lower caliber round, suppressed 5.56 300 blackout, something like that, from up to the right of Charlie. The video footage we saw from Range Day Bro that shows it looks like blood comes out the back before blood comes out the front. It looks like protruding skin before the round actually bursts through as an exit wound. Like everything, the acoustics support that. Everything sort of supports that theory right now. From if we had to give our best guess, that I think is the best theory that we have at the moment, like without more information.
Isn't that wild that we have to sit on here and potentially guess about this?
But I mean, there's just a lot. But we're talking about this like you got all sorts of experts. You got Marine Scout snipers. You got acoustics experts on YouTube. You got like all these different people from all different backgrounds, all working together to do this. To do 10 times what the FBI has. It's almost pathetic. It's like, why does the FBI exist, dude? Just hire a bunch of YouTubers, man. Like they'll solve your perfect crime for you. You know what I mean? Like we're literally just skullfuck the FBI into having to come out and say like, okay, maybe our story's not true. Whoopsies. Like YouTubers did that. That's not. We're talking about the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and I hate, like, I'm not an anti-law enforcement guy at all, but what are we doing? It
doesn't make any sense to me. I will say, kind of, we were talking a little bit about Candace, and yesterday she said that it's just kind of a wild thought. She first started talking about, the ballistics and how she doesn't know anything about it, and then she mentioned that potentially the shot could have came from below Charlie.
Okay, yeah, there's like a whole underground thing there. And to your right, you're observing those two little boxes, and they told me that was a trap door. Now, I'm not implying someone, popped up and shot Charlie, but that's a close-up of that area. I'm just implying that there's an entire underground there. And I remember when I looked at the footage, I felt like it was coming up. I don't know anything about ballistics. I'm not an expert.
And I saw that and I was like, okay, we're getting a little bit wild here.
So,
and she pointed out that there's like these tunnels. I don't know exactly what they are, but they're like tunnels or like there's a door for one of them and all this. And it's like, if you look at the shot, if it came from below, that would be a wild shot to hit him in the neck from below. I mean,
also,
it would be
like, where is he? He's in some tunnel below Charlie, below the platform. Like he can't even see Charlie. Now he's going by the sound of Charlie's voice. And still then, now there's no exit wound. So he's got a pistol down there and he's shooting through a platform floor. I mean, I don't know. I like Harry
you
Potter
are trying
to trying to approach this in like a logical, objective fashion. I think that's what most of us are trying to do. And I think that's kind of that type of thing. And I'm not trying to knock Candace on this. That type of thing is a huge detraction, because what I think that does is that tells, Candace has a huge audience. And so her huge audience starts listening to crazy shit like that. And they're like, nah, I'm out. I'm checked out. The FBI, I'm just going to go with their story. That's what they're going to do, because they're like, this shit is so ridiculous that now we're in la land. So I might as well just listen to the FBI. So I think it's kind of a detriment when we start being like, let's talk about like what makes sense logically, right? And there's a lot of really good videos and breakdowns from people who really know what they're talking about out there. Those are the people we should probably be when we're talking about like the technicalities of this. Now,
Sure.
to Candace's point, Candace wants to get into like all the crazy shit where she's deep diving into who's responsible and all that. That's her lane. You know what I mean? She's got access to stuff we don't have. But when we're getting into ballistics and stuff like that, like, I think that's where people like Candace maybe need to go, let's leave it to the experts for that.
Yeah, she's definitely on a fiery path right now, for sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we'll see where that ends up. My Lord.
Yeah.
It's getting wild. But anyways, hey man, I really appreciate you coming on. This has been awesome conversation, dude. I hope we get this figured out, or someone does quick, because man, this story it's just sad, dude. It really is. It's sad that it can be like just so screwed up and not just be like, okay, we have the footage. We have,
here it is.
what it says in his health report or whatever. And instead it's just this, it's almost like they're some could say they're creating a distraction from something, and they just passed a whole bunch of bills and everybody skipped over that. For the Epstein stuff and a couple other things. And
there's also the, I think this is kind of an interesting idea. The powers that be, the idea that they want you to know this is super fucked up. Because of that, what they eventually can show everyone is, and again, this is tinfoil. Excuse me. We can kill you if you say things we don't like, and we can do it in the most obnoxious fashion in front of everyone with cameras everywhere, and we'll put the FBI on it, and you'll all know it's bullshit and there's nothing you can fucking do about it. How about that? That is a little bit scary when you start to think, because that's what it kind of feels like right now. Because it's kind of like it's not like, to your point, the answers aren't there. The answer's in the autopsy report. If you just let me, just me, walk in and see Charlie Kirk's body, let me look at the actual shot, and then take the information that I have, I could solve the crime by myself like that, with what the information we have just with the autopsy report. Not solve it necessarily who did it or anything like that, but I could tell you exactly what type of round it was, where it came from. But those are the two big components that we need that I don't think we'll ever see. I don't believe we're ever going to get that camera footage, or we're going to get the autopsy report. Personally,
that is a wild thought process, and I've not thought about it like that. But that could very well be a strategy. Is just, we can do whatever we want, and it can be as stupid as anything out there. And
we can literally
care.
just say,
we don't care.
Yeah, he's Superman. His steel bones stopped the round. Deal with it. That's what that's the narrative, though. That's the official story right now. Which that's not the conspiracy tinfoil hat theory. That's the official story. You know? That the official story is crazier than the conspiracies. You know? So we'll see.
Can't believe it. All right, dude. Well, thank you very
buddy.
much for coming on. Really appreciate it. And we'll continue to fight on here.
Yeah. All right, everybody. All right. See you, everybody.